First scheduled XPT train service from Sydney to Brisbane looks certain to be cancelled by industrial action. It's all over the government's decision to axe sleeper cars on the North Coast run. A short while ago, protesters held a rally at Central as the last sleeper train left the station. And there were demonstrations up the line as well, as Tony Rankin reports.
State Rail is making waves throughout New South Wales. About 1,500 people were at Armidale Railway Station this morning protesting the end of their train service. Police had to clear the tracks before the city's last passenger train could pull out of the station.
A very sad day for Armidale, but we won't stop fighting, believe you me.
And the end of an era in Sydney tonight as the last sleeper trains head north. State Rail says they've become too old and expensive to run, but the Railways Union is furious about the decision, saying it will ban tomorrow's replacement XPT services to the North Coast and Brisbane. The union says it's supporting the public who want the sleepers to stay.
The government was not prepared to accept our peace package put forward yesterday, so the XPT will not run tomorrow morning.
Opposition leader Bob Carr and his transport spokesman Brian Langton will be aboard for the final journey of the North Coast sleepers. Even in this weather, a small group of determined demonstrators have arrived to protest the end of the northbound sleepers. And while it now seems certain there will be no northbound XPTs tomorrow, the dispute will go before the Industrial Relations Commission. Tony Rankin, 7 Nightly News.
Protest organiser Dr Ian Patterson prepared to tackle the XPT head-on.
The situation occurs where any person faces death and for what he believes in.
As the XPT approached, Dr Patterson stood his ground, shouting through a loud hailer, urging the driver to stop. As the crowd surrounded the train, police were called to clear the tracks. Dr Patterson and a female protester were arrested and charged with obstructing traffic.
I don't know why the police are getting involved. This is a people dispute, not a police dispute.
I ask you to halt that train in the name of the people.
And one man brought to a halt Australia's fastest train. The first XPT to travel the Sydney-Brisbane run since sleeper trains were axed, it was halted by Citizens Against Rail Cuts. A man and a woman were charged with obstructing traffic. The protest follows union agreement over the weekend to allow the service to run pending a review of North Coast train services.
State Rail substitute for the sleeping cars, first-class XPT style. For passengers, seats that recline just this far, armrests, and for most passengers, a footrest.
State Rail claims the XPTs are an improvement, faster and more comfortable for the two-thirds majority of passengers who already sit up all night travelling north. The union wants the issue widened to country rail cuts in general.
The drastic cuts in other areas are still of tremendous concern to us and to the people of New South Wales.
Like the loss of the XPT to Canberra, replaced by a much slower loco-hauled train.
The message from Mr Greiner is that it's our rail service, not his.
David Jones, 7 Nightly News.
Railway travellers, up to 800, could find themselves stranded in Sydney tomorrow if Railways unions defy the Industrial Commission recommendation and ban the departure of the first XPTs to Murwillumbah in the morning and Brisbane in the afternoon. State Rail is planning on the services running, but in case they don't,
Have suggested to their customers that they may wish to make alternative arrangements because in the event that the bans do proceed, we cannot provide alternate services.
Still, the government axing sleeping carriages to make way for the newer and faster XPTs. The rail unions want the sleepers kept and they've called for an independent inquiry, but an industrial commissioner has called the union's action politically motivated.
Government won't compromise. Mr Greiner is determined to devastate the passenger rail system in this state. And it was inevitable that after 2 years of that kind of policy, the unions would react.
Also in Armidale today, the last XPT left Armidale on Thursday, and residents are outraged. That XPT used to terminate in their town, and now it only goes to Tamworth. Passengers will now travel by feeder coaches. The bottom line is that up to 7,000 people who've booked to travel on the XPTs this week may be going nowhere.
Of protesters gathered in country centres demanding the government reinstate axed rail services. In Armidale, angry passengers watched the last train leave the station. They will now have to travel by bus to Tamworth to catch a train.
Cutting the service to Armidale and Points North is part of State Rail's ongoing plan to reduce its massive debt.
We're back now to where we were in 1878 with the terminus of the railway at Tamworth virtually. I don't think that's very progressive.
Rail unions are still threatening to boycott the first cost-cutting XPT service to Queensland tomorrow. Mary Ruth Monsor, National 9 News.